I love teaching fitness, but I wasn't ready to be brick and mortar. I don't want to own a studio. And so I said, what can I own that's a good balance? And Hopefully Plated has been it. It's a good match of time. And I always joke, I feel like I'm always working, yet never kind of working. I'm just playing and having fun and doing what I need to do, but I'm not giving up on working and I'm not giving up on my time.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 83 of the Andrew Deitsch podcast. Hope you guys are having a lovely Friday. Can't wait to jump into this episode. Pretty exciting stuff. But if this is your first time joining me here, welcome. I want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy life to inject some ADP into your eardrums. On this podcast, I talk to the coolest people I know. Who are those people? Those are people who do cool things. They have cool jobs. They're outliers. They do unapologetically awesome stuff. They live awesome lives. And basically just people that I find really interesting and I want to learn more about. So what do I do with those people? We sit them down in person and we have meaningful and transparent conversations. It's one of my favorite things in the world, and I really hope you get some value out of this episode. All right, so before we get started, this episode of the Andrew Deitsch podcast is brought to you by Brooke Watson from Keller Williams, Chattahoochee North. And Brooke is a real estate agent and a longtime friend of mine, and instead of just reading boring ads every week, we're going to play a quick clip from a conversation that Brooke and I had last week. I want to lead with value first. So hopefully you learned something new, and I'll be right back in just a second to jump into the episode. Don't go away. If I was looking into investing into real estate, and maybe it's my first time, I don't really know what I'm getting myself into, how would you help that person?
So first of all, we need to decide whether you want to buy and hold something, like you want to buy a rental property and lease it out to someone, or you want to like flip a house. Or you want to get into like multi-unit dwellings. I think those are like the three main categories, and everything else gets a little bit more intricate, but you have to decide. And then say if you're going to flip a home, are you just going to do cosmetic, or are you willing to put in like $100K and like completely redo it, maybe add another bath to get more value? We have to decide on your cash reserves how much you want to risk the first one. And same for multi-unit dwellings. Like usually they're more expensive, and some of them already have renters in them. You're just taking it over. It's just like buying a business. And other ones, like I'm selling one now that, I mean, it needs $400K just in work. That doesn't even include the purchase price. So you just have to decide like what kind of investing's the best for you. And you probably get like a mentor. There's so many mentors we know that we can hook you up with, and people will do, they're called JV deals. It's like a joint venture deal. People will put up 50%, you'll put up 50%, and then it's less risk on both of you guys.
All right, thank you, Brooke. If you have any real estate related questions, make sure you send them our way so that Brooke can answer them on the show. And if you're interested in working with her, please go to brookewatson.house. That's her website. That would be BROOKEWATSON.house. That's her website where you can connect with her. And just because she's located here in Atlanta doesn't mean that she can't help you or connect you to the right person if you're out of the state. So thanks you to Brooke Watson of Keller Williams Chattahoochee North for sponsoring this episode. All right. So my guest today is Mallory Hope Schwartz from Hopefully Plated. And Mallory is a concierge nutritional planner. She's a fitness instructor, an internet socialite of sorts, you could say, and she does it all. She's really awesome. I had a super fun conversation with her all about nutrition, how everyone has different needs, achieving your fitness goals, and all kinds of other fun tips and tricks. And I feel like she's basically a living Instagram story. That's all I have to say there. But she's got it down. I had a great time getting to hang out with Mallory, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy our conversation. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend Mallory Hope Schwartz. All right, Mallory, what's up?
Hey.
Is your last name actually Hope's, or is
No.
that just your Instagram name?
So my middle name is Hope. My last name is Schwartz.
Very cool.
So I always say my name is like the best 80s movie or 80s clip because Mallory from Family Ties and Schwartz from Spaceballs.
Very cool.
But Hope is my middle name, and a lot of my family goes by their first and middle name.
Cool. Very cool.
So it kind of became a fun phrase, and then I need to be a little more Jewish, I add my Schwartz back in. If I need to be a little bit more non-denominational, Schwartz can just hang right there.
That's funny. I like that. Okay, cool. So I could probably try to explain what you do, but I'd rather you explain it because I feel like you do a lot of things.
The best question is when people ask, what do you do?
You're like, when?
And then I wait and I go, either I say like, what do I not do? Or I say, what do you think I do? And that's the best answer. What do you think I do? And my answer is always whatever I need to do to get it done. I started working in fitness when I was in college at University of South Carolina and their group exercise system. And I grew up being a dancer that I loved being on stage, but I was never going to be the best dancer. So I had to find a fit in being active. So I started teaching all those fun, like tone and tighten and like, booty back classes and all the college things.
Yeah.
I taught step, which is not around as much anymore, step classes to students and also to faculty, like at the faculty gym. And then as I evolved and graduated from college, I graduated with a sport and entertainment marketing management degree.
That is a mouthful.
It is. SPTE from University of South Carolina. And it was the worst time in the economy to graduate. So I finished about 07, 08. And I went the corporate route. I found a business development job in LA that moved me to LA from the East Coast. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia. And I tried the corporate life. And I think if I had realized my work style at a younger age, I would have known not to go into that realm. But, I had great parents and they work hard and they have 9 to 5s and do work. And so that's what you did. You went into the corporate life. And I tried. But as I chuckle every time I say that, I really did try, but nothing felt fulfilled. I had amazing jobs, but nothing as a career focus in LA. And
What kind of jobs were you doing?
So I did business development for a water feature design company, the people who designed Bellagio.
That's cool.
I ran an office that was a private equity firm that owned media companies like TV Guide magazine. I tried to get back into sports and worked part-time with the Dodgers, but during their worst season when McCourt was going through his divorce. So it was just, everything was a learning avenue. And while I was there, the friends that I was creating were through the gym and fitness and hiking. And I was starting to have family dinners at my house because I didn't have family in LA. How do you have friends over and hang out? It was every Sunday night I'd have family dinners. And I was starting to cook a lot and prepare and just be a little bit more focused on how am I producing all my food? What's in my fridge? Growing up, I always loved to cook, but I always followed my mom around and she's a good little Jewish mom. And so the food's a little heavier, a little more buttered. You're never like as health conscious. Like you are, but like you take like one biggest carrot to dip into a pound of hummus. Like maybe it's not the right match. So over time, I got out of the corporate life in LA and I really tried to find my fit of what I enjoyed. So I sous chef for a caterer. I started teaching fitness classes again. So I'd taken off about 4 years. And then I got connected to one gym that was doing a food program, practicing gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free for 90 days.
Whoa.
It was one of the coolest things I've tried, but it also maybe I pushed it too hard too because I ended up trimming up so fast, which is great. And I learned a lot, but also just helped me learn how to like meal prep and process and what I really needed. So from then on, I really haven't had much dairy ever since. I know where I want to splurge on dairy if I'm like craving something, but like I'll buy a pint of gelato or ice cream, like some of the real stuff. It will take me 3 months to finish.
Wow.
Like that's how.
Just need a couple bites to tide you over.
And I learned where my like sugar spikes were and why I was like craving sugar. And over time, if you take out sugar from your coffee in the morning, you don't crave it all day. So those are things I learned during that process. And after, my time in LA, I was there 6 years. I moved here on a whim. I packed up my car and told my friends I'm out in 30 days. And I said I would never leave LA till I was done. And I think after 6 years, and it was really my adulting. It was like learning everything on my own, every, dollar wasted, every fun party, every let's go to Vegas, you're exhausted, stay home for a week, oh my gosh, I was an adult. It was like May and it was 8 a.m. and I rushed myself to like emergency care because I had strep throat. Like those are things you learn when you're away from parents, away from friends, like in a city that's aggressive and you go, okay, I got to handle it.
Yeah.
So
for
when I
sure.
came to Atlanta, I really had a lot of fire under my feet. I'd already kind of grown in that adult aspect of like, okay, how do I handle myself for where I want to be?
Yeah.
How do I present myself? So I was already, before I moved here, like talking to 4 or 5 gyms saying, I just want to start teaching and getting connected and building a community. And it was really exciting because Atlanta's so much more open to new people, new energy, entrepreneurs, and ideas.
Very true.
So long story getting longer of that, I finally found my fit where I put everything together. So I'd had a background with event brand marketing. So I'd been working with a lot of liquor brands in LA. And then I moved here working with third-party marketing agencies for other brands. So I knew how to brand myself. I knew how to find a good fit, especially on business development. You have to just talk to everyone, hand your card out, ask questions, ask how you can help them. And then I was already involved in the fitness community saying, hey, what do you need on the food side? How can I help you? Which is how Hopefully Plated was created. So Hopefully Plated, everything based on my middle name, Hope, because it's a play on words. And it is concierge nutritional planning. So I have a small client list in the Atlanta community, mostly ITP, a few friends outside the perimeter who've captured me and are my clients, but I want to make life easier for them. So I try not to dictate a diet, but I cook gluten-free, limited dairy, and natural sugars. So sugars being honey, agave, brown rice syrup, coconut sugars, and then my limited dairy. If I'm making them like a fun taco bowl, I'll give them the serving of cheese that should be a right fit for that meal instead of like, here's an entire bag, have fun. Which is what, dairy should be enjoyed, but not over splurged.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's been 2 years. It's so well received. And again, I keep it small. So everyone's asked, who's your competitors? Or how do we grow you bigger? Every time I meet with someone who's already in the industry, maybe in the restaurant industry or catering industry, they're like, let's get you huge. And I'm like, I'm not ready yet. I love my client list being under 10. I like that I can give to them one-on-one. I like that if a client has an event coming up and says, can I have some extra meals this weekend? I have family in town. Great. I do all the prep work. So I find cool recipes, cool ideas. I go to DeKalb Farmers Market. I get everything from them. Sunday morning, I'm there 9 a.m. when the doors open with all the other crowd. I prep, cook, and deliver by Monday night. So everything is done in and out my door within 48 hours.
That's awesome.
It should be fresh. It should be the same way you want to cook for yourself. And the idea came to me mostly because I was meal prepping for myself and I had friends say, well, I don't have time to do what you do. And I kept wondering, well, why do I have time? Like I'm working and doing stuff. Like how am I making it work?
Very true.
I knew there was a business there. And my dad's an entrepreneur, works in commercial real estate and has a side hustle. He does color commentating for radio, actually, for basketball.
Very cool.
And my brother-in-law owns his own law firm, and I had a lot of other friends with entrepreneurial backgrounds. And I said, I love teaching fitness, but I wasn't ready to be brick and mortar. I don't want to own a studio. I love teaching at Pink Bar. It's been a great Atlanta-based chain for the bar community. The owner and I, Tara, work so well together. And so I said, what can I own that's a good balance? And Hopefully Plated has been it. It's a good match of time. And I always joke, I feel like I'm always working, yet never kind of working. I'm just playing and having fun and doing what I need to do so that if I need to take an afternoon off and run around, or if I need to want to hang out with friends who come into town, I can, but I'm not giving up on working and I'm not giving up on my time. It's like a shared community. So that's my long story of how I got here, how my company started, and how we're talking.
That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, we connected on Instagram. I don't know if I followed you or you followed me, but I was like...
I think you posted someone else I follow, and then I clicked on your page, and I joke with a lot of friends. Instagram friends are real friends. At some point, and somehow that's how this all works together. I can name, let's say I have 10 closer friends here that I hang out with. At least 8 of them are probably from Instagram. Either we chatted once or met through once, or they saw my name. And like my chiropractor was actually because we met through Instagram, became friends, and then she said, hey, you've never been in here before. You should probably come check it out.
Right.
So if
That's
you ever
awesome.
see, it creates such a real community if you want it to be.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
If you want it to be. There's always that fake appeal, and not everyone has to be your friend. But I will say at least Atlanta has been so warm on the social media side. It's engaging and exciting because people want to know who you are. How did you get here? How are you evolving? Why do you like Atlanta? I was interviewed once and they said, why do you think Atlanta invites so much new ideas? And I think it's because of the social media aspect and the entrepreneurial events and things going on that they want new faces.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like also they're just kind of, Atlanta has been super open-minded, at least in the past like 10 years or so, of like the Beltline and like all this like cool stuff that's happening like in Atlanta that's growing communities and growing.
The idea to be here and continue to prosper is a great view for a large city. And not every city has that development. Like you can go to DC and DC has pockets and it's exciting, and maybe they're building one or two new things, but it's not that industry of like, let's do more, let's invite more. I moved here right before the shops at Lenox opened up, and I moved here right as like Ponce was just getting started, and I moved here right before some of the bigger chains were coming in. So on the fitness side, I love working in boutique fitness, but a lot of the studios I go to, like I love Core Power, and I go there and they're an amazing chain. And I knew them in LA and I've known them in other cities. And the best part is they've been so inviting here in Atlanta. I actually cook for their teachers. So that's a fun way that I've mixed everything. So hopefully Plated can go anywhere it wants to go because it's just me. And I have the ability to always say yes. If it makes sense and I can be there and I can help, I will always say yes.
That's awesome.
So I cook for their teacher meetups or their healthy days or whatever they need. And it's like a fun mix of, okay, I'm in the fitness community, but they're such a big brand, but they're inviting such a small entrepreneur like myself to come hang out.
That's great. I really like how, as like what you're doing, like you said, is just me. I love that because I think a lot of people don't even really know their real value, or like they can put a value on what they do because they like work for a really big company and they kind of just do like, not busy work, but they kind of are just like a cog in a machine.
So that's how it all kind of started, is that I did.
There's a cat behind your head.
We have a cat here if you guys hear us all flinch a moment. She's just chilling. May have to video that one. So I was giving my brand, myself, to other great products. I'd worked for third-party marketing agencies, and I was excited about those brands, and it was fun to go out and be in events for them. But then I realized that I was sharing myself, my authentic self of like energy and talking and spirit and funny stories and like creativity with other brands that weren't mine. And I always say there's two parts of that. Either you have to get on the brand side. If you're on the company side of a brand, let's say you work for an agency, but then your client's Nike and you want to get in front of Nike to be a bigger voice and share who you are, do it. That's the hard part of agencies nowadays. Like I work with a lot of other PR agencies and media agencies, and people love it because you can share cool ideas to build a brand. But if you really want to make a stronger initiative, I say get on that brand side. Make a voice, get in with them somehow. And I was in that mixed company. I was like working with brands, but I didn't have a big enough voice. So when I started Hopefully Plated, it was a work in progress. I think the first 4 months was all single dudes that I'd known from the gym who wanted to eat healthier. The hard part though about being a single dude is food is social. So it was a great learning aspect for me to say, okay, how do I make meals accessible and exciting for people to eat at home or in the office or on the road, but then not take away from their desire to want to also eat out, which is why over time my company's been more attractive to couples and families. Mostly because, like you said, self-worth. I've tried to monetize where my work is, meaning, okay, if I was going to pay myself hourly and I was in an office, how many hours am I working? How am I making my money? How am I exhausting my time? Am I driving too much? Am I like physically tired? Am I on my feet too long? And then I was using that to say, well, for couples and families, you don't have to go to the market now. You don't have to come up with a new recipe. Your family doesn't have to be bored with the same chicken and potatoes. I can do that for you. And so when I sit down and meet with each client, like every client can email me or find me through a questionnaire on my website, but I always sit down face to face at their home. I ask about their weaknesses, their splurges, why this is going to help them. Most time they say it's time. It takes time to create, figure out an idea, make a recipe, and then go to the market.
For sure.
Not everyone loves cooking, but they'll get it done. It's the process until you get to cooking that people just are like, it's exhausting.
For sure. For sure.
I can tell my friends I spend a couple hours at DeKalb. And then if I need any extra like gluten-free dry goods, I go to Sprouts. And then if I need any like funky whatever I need, I go to Natural Rainbow Foods in Decatur. That is like the original 70s hippie, kind of smells a little yeasty, like all natural food store. If you've never been, it is one of my favorite stops. They have people in there helping with vitamins and minerals, and they have a hot bar, and you're like, where are you? It's literally off Claremont in Decatur. It's like a hole in the wall. I feel like I've heard of this place. It smells a little like go in knowing like it's a little hippy dippy.
I feel you.
But those are things that I can put the time into saying, all right, and now I have 12 flours, 5 oils. What do I want to make from this? I think growing up, I used to hear my mom be like, trying a new recipe. And then you had to buy 5 new ingredients that maybe were going to sit on too long.
Yeah, definitely.
I always joke saying, I want to be able to make anything from scratch any day of the week. Like if there's not at least 2 dozen eggs in my fridge, that's not enough.
Right? I'm like the same way just because I eat that many eggs. Like
I eat a lot of eggs.
Me too. I eat, like everyone knows me as the egg dude. I literally eat eggs like every single morning. But anyways.
No, my friend. So there's a thing about eggs, and it's a comfort food because I do it too.
Totally.
And a little sidebar: everyone has that food that's like you would never serve to someone else, but you're gonna eat. Whether it's like a weird bologna sandwich or whether it's like that cheap ass food that you're like buying Spam. I call it like my single white female food, which it could be anybody, but I think it's just long term. I've jokingly said that. I do like a hard-boiled egg, just a can of tuna on whatever leafy greens I have, and that's my dinner.
That's
and then
not bad.
add probably olives. So I love adding acidic things instead of salt. And my friends are like, that's your dinner? I could eat that probably every day and just be like, fine.
That sounds delicious. I'm super into that.
That's the thing. It's like a quick give me fix. Yes, I have all my other fun homemade food, but you just want something. So eggs are that comfort food. I tell everyone, if you can't do eggs, do something else that's an inexpensive comfort food.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like that's probably why I eat it. I love it. I eat it every single morning. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, your background was in like all this other stuff, and then you got into like all this health side of things, and obviously that kind of comes with being in the fitness community and whatever, but how did you get so interested and passionate and like knowledgeable about all that stuff?
So I just decided to start learning. I like the manual task of cooking, so I like the action. So then I had to say, okay, how do I take that into a book side, a book smart of it. I'm actually studying right now for an online nutrition certificate from Mind Body Green. I have amazing friends here in the city who are nutritionists and dietitian. And I wasn't going to go back to school. I knew I already had a company started. How do I continue to grow and expand my mind instead of just saying like, oh, I need to learn how to like chop this a different way. Like, of course I want to work on my knife skills, but it's more of the mind process of how do I take the enjoyment of cooking and the help of meal prep into the mental side. So I am studying. Again, I've chatted with a few other nutritionists saying, do you like this program? Before I signed up for it, I asked other people who are already involved with schooling or doctors to say like, hey, if I got this teaching in this program, do you understand like what I can do with it? Mind Body Green's great. It's online. It's a few other nutritionists and dietitians, mostly around this in New York, who came together and kind of built an educational program. It does go through a lot of the like meal processing. It goes through a lot of diets. So when people ask me about keto and paleo, and it goes through all that, and then it does do a lot of processing of enzymes, digestion, and asking questions. Mostly I just started researching. So I'm learning more about adaptogens, which are natural occurring enzymes in our body that we can also take to help our moods and energy level and how we relate to stress. And those are things that I think 10 years ago I'd have been like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Totally.
I think it was over time. I just wanted to start to learn more. My family is not overall the healthiest family. We're active and it's fun, but we had Sunday night fried chicken, and I'm Southern and Jewish, so I don't know which evils are which. like we had schnitzel, and then we had fried chicken, and then we had chicken and veggies, but probably our potatoes had a lot of butter on top. So I think it was over time I kept saying well, how do I benefit for myself on the health side? And like I said, I was always involved in fitness. But I think it just over time, you see what you're eating, you see how it's processing. Everyone's like, oh, you're so fit and you probably just work out. I watch my food. Food is one of the biggest things to watch to make sure you're being healthy. I had surgery a couple years back, and I really did have to watch my food, because if you can't just burn off all your calories, it's really watching what's inside your body.
For sure.
And that's what I've been helping train my family at. So not just my clients, but I was home for a little while helping my dad, and I said, all right, if I'm home, we're eating how I eat. And he understands it. It's hard to tell yourself to do it.
Exactly.
So I always tell my clients, if you can't do it, I'm here. And that's the best way. If I can sit down with their kids and say, one family, I always ask the daughter, like, what was your snack today? And she'll say, like, well, I had popcorn and crackers. And I was like, well, where's your green? Or what, something crunchy you had? Like, can you add some carrots in there, or like switch something? So I told her, she's 8. And I said, it's a great time to say, let her cut her own cucumber, get like not a too sharp knife, go in the fridge, understand what her snack is, put it on the plate, be excited to eat it. If you can see your food, make your food, and understand what you're putting in your body, you're more likely to pick a healthier option. If you're just grabbing a bag and running out the door, you're not even that satisfied eating those chips or eating that bag of something.
I agree.
So it's really, I say, eat with your senses. So you want to see it, hear it, taste it, smell it, everything before you really enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely, my mom has always been like super healthy, and I'm definitely super thankful for that now. Like growing up, it was always like, why don't I get the good cereal and like, all that stuff. But now I totally understand, and it's kind of scary how much just is ingrained in you from a young age about food.
Absolutely. Like my mom worked, she's a dental hygienist, worked 8 to 5. So it was a long morning. She would drive us to school, elementary school in the morning. And we had a half a bagel every morning in the car. And like, I can't even tell you the last time I had a bagel was like a bar mitzvah a bit ago. And I had like a half a bagel. But at the time thinking that's what breakfast was. That's how you filled your day. And like, I don't think I ever felt good about what I was eating. Yeah. And it's hard because then you have to, as you get older, decide what feeds my body, what feels good, why am I not digesting this well? I always say it's a lot about how we grew up. Italians could eat pasta every day and it not hurt their stomach, and they can digest it and they can enjoy it. I do not think about pasta, ever. I don't ever think about it. I don't ever touch it. It's not one of my fortes of I'm craving this, because I know I don't process it well. It was never in my food routine growing up. Give me white potatoes anyway. Yeah, french fries, mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes. That was like a gimme for me. But I never think about pasta. It's the same way when some people enjoy it but didn't grow up in it and say, I don't know why I have a stomach ache every time I eat pasta. Yeah. Our bodies really are ingrained of where we grew up, how we evolved, our ethnicity. Corn is a great food, but it's harder to process for a lot of Americans. And if you have any Hispanic background, though, corn was essential. So it's like a different compatibility. And I think we forget about that because in America, the food is anything we want, any time of day.
Exactly. What are you in the mood for?
Yeah. What are you in the mood for? What are you craving? I always try to tell my friends, if you're craving something, don't eat it right away. Whatever it is as a splurge, you're probably mentally craving it more than you're actually physically craving it. Give it a day, give it a moment. If you're craving something too, make it a splurge. Hey, Saturday night, I'm going to eat out. Let that be your day of like, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Food guilt is not good. Food guilt is very scary.
Definitely.
Because then you get mad at yourself for enjoying something you wanted. And then sometimes you still go off the deep end afterwards. It's totally true. If you follow another good friend, Megan here, who I met from Instagram, who's become a great friend, she runs the Nutrition Addiction. She also says, don't guilt yourself. Don't guilt yourself of food. And that's why with my clients, if you know what's healthy in your fridge at home, you're more likely to eat great at home. And that one quick bite of something outside the house doesn't ruin your diet, doesn't ruin your week, doesn't ruin your meal plan, doesn't ruin your stomach. And that gives you time to like enjoy food.
Yeah. Another thing I think is that like people are so, I don't know, they eat unhealthy all the time. And so they don't have like a baseline for what it would feel like if they did eat healthier. Or like they'll eat a salad like once and they're like, I don't feel any different, so why would I eat this?
Discussion, because that's why people now are doing Whole30. Whole30 is interesting. I like that it helps people learn to cook at home, prep their food, organize their meals.
And for people listening that don't know, Whole30 is...
Whole30 is literally, you can only eat whole foods for 30 days. You have to take out a lot of things that are overly processed, so you can't even have like some of your milks and your sugars and the things you would put in like a quick coffee and things like that. I think you can't have coffee, and you can't have, there's like a long list, and I think you can't have some different legumes and some things that are just over processed or overly and like hard to digest. And like you can't have butter, and you can't have some oils, and it's really a way to keep everything as fresh as possible, eating mostly at home. A lot of restaurants do now have a few Whole30 options, paleo options, gluten-free options, obviously, which is super helpful.
Yeah.
The problem is afterwards, there's no longevity in that.
For sure.
It's really hard to find your balance. So I enjoy Whole30 for people to try things like that. But then if you're going to go off the deep end on day 31, like, I don't know if that's really helping. That's why I always say diet should be sustainable instead of like a quick fix.
100%.
Obviously, there's something sometimes like your first week on it, yeah, give up your sugars or like find it. And then the day you get to have your one cheat meal, enjoy your sugars, like enjoy that moment, but get back on what you can eat health-wise for the rest of the week.
So how do you structure your eating? Because you know, some people listening to this are like, I just eat whatever all the time, and you're talking about cheat meals and like, oh, well, it won't ruin your diet if you have this, but I eat clean at home. Like, what would you say is like, and for your clients, what do you recommend?
So, like I said, for my clients, I cook gluten-free, limited dairy, natural sugars. There's a balance in that. There's always more calorically dense foods that will make you feel fuller, longer, and better. Meaning some leafy greens, some great gluten-free carbs, and protein. I try to base my meals off of protein and then add to it. If you don't eat meat, that's totally fine too. If you are vegan, there are other options, but having protein as a source to start your meal will make you feel fuller longer.
For sure.
Yes, we need some healthy carbohydrates to give us some energy, but it shouldn't be your sole meal. I think that's why sometimes when people first go vegan, it's very hard because they think, oh, I'm eating too many carbs because they give up eggs, cheese, meat, such. So for me, I love protein. People laugh about it. I could eat meat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love being vegetarian aspects. I've like lived with roommates in college that were vegetarian and enjoyed it. But for me, I found that like protein was definitely my source of feeling full and feeling ready for the day. So my morning, again, eggs. I do eat a lot of like homemade turkey sausages for breakfast. I eat a lot of meat for breakfast. I'll just have chicken breast just out the door, like, and that's funny. And then my salad, my lunch normally is a hearty either salad or stir fry. I love hot meals. So like if I can make a quick stir fry and just add some protein to it. I've looked into a lot of blood type eating.
I've heard about this.
So
it's interesting.
There's an amazing apothecary here in Atlanta. Someone else I found on Instagram. And it's called Your Vitamin Lady. She's on the corner of like Edgewood and Jackson. It's a little hidden, a little off the beaten path. She works with alkaline water, which is pH balanced water. But you can come in, get your finger pricked. She'll test your blood. And she talks about what your body really needs for your blood type. And almost always it's pretty specific. And you think about it and you're like, oh, well, that's why I don't feel good when I'm eating that, or that's why that feels better. So my old roommate, we went together and we got the blood test typing, and it was true. She used to be a vegetarian. She could eat some healthier carbs, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and still have the same energy. So when we went together, of course, she's going to pick oatmeal for breakfast, and I'm going to pick steak and eggs. And then it was very exciting to feel like, oh, that makes sense of why our bodies need different things.
That is validating.
So when I share with other people, find what helps your body, but then take note. If something's not feeling great, there's a reason you probably shouldn't be eating it. Dairy is very overprocessed. So for me, if I'm going to have a dairy treat, I try to find a cheese or something that's least processed. So like American cheese, the most processed. Like,
and processed meaning like
additives, things that shouldn't be in there for your body, not whole, like whole fresh mozzarella, great. Whole fresh, some of these heartier cheeses, great. Going in and having American, Swiss, pepper jack, mostly all somehow processed in a way that's not going to be the purest dairy form for your stomach and for your body. So like I said, for me, it's a meat protein that helps me for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I do love snacks. So right now, probably every time I go somewhere, you can see in my bag, I have trail mix that I make all for my clients. I bring an apple everywhere I go. Even by day 3, it probably goes bad and I still eat it. But in my trail mix, I try to also have something crunchy, sweet, and fulfilling. So like today, I have golden raisins, almonds, cut up dates, and pecans. So different things in a trail mix that also like help you as a snack fix. So yeah, eat 12 almonds, great. No, you should have something exciting in there. Sometimes I buy those honey sesame sticks. So it's not that you have to like watch everything you eat, but add things in that make your day enjoyable.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have, Mexican and eat Mexican food out, eat the fajitas, have some chips, but don't eat the flour tortillas with the fajitas.
And don't eat like 3 bowls of chips.
Like I'm a sucker for chips and dips.
Me too.
So I'm a sucker. And I tell them, don't refill this bowl. Like just let me have this. This is my moment. I'm a sucker. I like lose it. So those are the things I try to do for myself. And it is a focus. You can't, and there are weeks when I'm really busy and I'm like, oh man, I did not watch what I ate. I don't feel good. I didn't drink enough water this week. And I have to check in with myself and be like, okay, Monday, start again. I'm good. Let's refresh. It's hard for everyone. It's the hardest for anyone in health and fitness, health and wellness to stay active for themselves. Whether it's making sure you go to the gym, making sure it's what you eat is healthy, making sure you don't oversplurge. Like being in the industry is one of the hardest things.
For sure.
Because you're trying to give and help other people all the time that you forget your body is just as needed for those healthy things. Your body is taking all the beating you're taking. If you're not sleeping, if you're not drinking enough water, if you're not like, I know the second I'm like traveling a day and I'm like, ooh, let's splurge on every meal. Nope. The next day, oof. Bloated and icky, and you can feel it in your skin.
Yeah, for sure.
And the salt content, I can feel it on my tongue. Like,
yeah, I think I eat pretty healthy, and like at my job, they have like on Saturday they always buy pizza, and like so I'm like, okay, cool, it's my cheat meal, whatever, pizza. But literally every day or every next day, I always break out. Like I always have pimples and stuff. It's gross.
I will only allow myself pizza when I'm like absolutely 100% direly craving it. Because if not, I never feel great afterwards.
Yeah.
I used to work in events, and events was either pizza or quick subs. Neither one ever felt great. Because then you had to go back to whatever we were doing for the event, and I felt lethargic and just like dragged.
You need to take a nap.
And sticky. You just like don't feel good. Like your skin feels icky and like you just
No, it's totally true.
feel like everything's oozing out. I'm like,
so it seems like for you that everything that you're talking about is all about like how you're feeling.
yes.
And you seem to be very in tune with that.
Most days. And I really try for it. I think I'm really led by emotions. Not everyone believes it all, but I'm a Cancer and I'm super emotional and I love people and all that good stuff. But I do feel that food, fitness, and your day-to-day is led by your emotions. How you wake up is how your whole day is going to go normally. And so if you wake up groggy and sleep deprived and dehydrated and not feeling good, like the rest of your day, it's harder to get back. And if you go to bed with that same stress of not feeling good, it's just like a bad cycle.
For sure.
I think growing up, I had those tensions all the time. I'm the youngest of 3, and I was always a little emotional and always a little tired. And it helps as an adult to find what works for you. So obviously in our 20s, they go, oh, peer pressure, let's go out, let's do stuff. I'm like, now in my 30s, I'm like, it's Friday, I'm at home, it's 8 o'clock, I'm watching my Netflix, and I feel just as good for myself because then I know Saturday morning, I love that 9 a.m. workout.
Totally.
I'd rather be home, and I think it's the evolution that we're forgetting that our moods and our emotions lead the rest of our day.
For sure.
If someone else is in a bad mood, the second you go to a grocery store and that the person helping bag your groceries is in a bad mood.
Yeah.
But you also appreciate if they're in the great mood to help you in your day to be a better mood.
Yeah. My friend Owen always says that it's so easy to be like basically better than anyone at any job just by being happy and like actually trying to help people.
Absolutely.
Like most people in their job are just kind of like, what time is it? It's time to leave almost,
just like we were talking about Instagram earlier, I really do love sharing my day. Like I put you on here today. I love sharing my day. But in the last 2 years, probably since starting my company, I also will share if I'm having a bad day. And I think people have said and written back to me on Instagram saying, thank you for sharing. I enjoy hearing your genuine feelings. I think finding authentic people, companies, ideas, energy is what makes the entrepreneurial life like really worth it. It makes any life, any small business, any side hustle. And for me, if I'm having a bad day, you know, I don't overly share it and I don't tell my clients and I don't like go into the studio teaching like, hey, I'm having a horrible day. Sorry, let it go. But via social media or explaining it later or just telling people I'm having a rough moment. Thanks for bearing with me if I'm not smiling 24/7. Because that's a genuine feeling too. Emotions lead our work ethic. If I'm having a rough day, someone's going to see it. And in that moment, I get through my day and then I go home at night. Like I have to slow down because you can't carry it on to the next day. The worst is when you go to bed upset and you're still carrying it with you the next day. And it's hard. And a lot of us go through it. There's a huge correlation between food and mood. The same way as fitness. Fitness gives us endorphins. It makes us a little happier, makes us feel good. The same way with food. If you are feeling just so down on yourself, it's probably also what you're clogging your body with in that moment.
Yeah, it's totally true. And like I mentioned earlier, as an au pair, and when I lived in Italy, my host family, we ate pasta every single meal, and like it was weird because I didn't control the diet. Like I just ate what they were serving me because I mean I lived in their house. Like you know that's just what I did. But like it is weird how much I could feel it. I'm like, I know I need some like more vegetables and stuff to like, I knew I wasn't feeling right, but it was just, I didn't really even have like control over it. And I feel like that's kind of how kids in America or kids everywhere really grow up because you don't really have control over like what your parents are giving you. You don't have those options. So like, I think for you, it seems like you're very excited about like learning about it and you're always sharing new recipes and like, oh my gosh, I'm trying this new thing and I've got this new ingredient. I'm going to try to incorporate it, blah, blah, blah. And some people are just like not excited about it and they're just like, I just want to eat bread or like, I just want to eat pizza.
It's so hard to share that with other people who don't want to open the door to learning a little bit more for their body. It's hard. I have a lot of friends that say, I'm never giving up bread. And I say, okay, well then we need to pick and choose your battles. If you're never going to give up bread, that's fine. Find where else you can add in something better or find where, like, let's say you're eating bread, eat it for lunch. So then you can fight it off, burn off whatever feels great, ungreat, or like calorie-wise or water-wise by the end of the day. So you're not eating it at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah. There's just different things. And for me, my Instagram now has been much more lifestyle. I actually sat down with a few other marketing people in the last year. I used to have 2 different Instagrams. I had my personal, which is Mallory Hope's, and then my company, which is Hopefully Plated. And over time, I've now met with a ton of different marketing professionals saying, you are your brand and you are a lifestyle. And that's really, I think, what I've tuned into lately is that food, fitness, things to do in Atlanta, funny posts, hanging out with friends is lifestyle. You know, our mood is our lifestyle. And I think what's happening with some people who have these splurges who don't want to give them up food-wise, they haven't really found their balance yet. Either food is their like comfort, so they're losing it somewhere else. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like
it does.
Finding a fit that makes them say, okay, I'm balanced in my life of going to work and leaving work at work. I'm balanced in my life of, do I have some successful relationships, you know, with my friends or with my loved ones? It's a hard balance. And it's the same way. If you're unbalanced, everything's unbalanced. If you're fighting with your mom, you know you're going home and still carrying that anger and maybe eating some crazy food and like doing something. I think that's what's hard now to share with friends. And we all have our gimmies. If you're having a rough day, you're going to get that Reese cup and have it. Like, that's just a moment. And that's okay too. It's just like, you have to like tell yourself how you feel in that moment. And if you can't acknowledge it that day, tomorrow, acknowledge what you're feeling. What's different? Yeah. And so for me, it's like taking it all in as a lifestyle.
Yeah. And I totally agree with the lifestyle thing because I think you really have to take an inventory of like your life and then where you want to eventually be. I think people have like an idea in their head of like, okay, when I get old, do I want to be fat? Do I want to be like, you know, do I want to be exercising? Do I see myself like being living long? All this stuff. It's like, you've got to kind of, it's not just going to happen. Like when you hit 60, all right, you're going to get your shit together and get healthy. Like you're going to stay the same or worse.
It's just so different than our parents' generation than where we are now. Because we have almost too much knowledge.
Totally.
We have too many ideas. We have too many cool new diets and cool new phrases, and that's fine, but it's not going to work for everybody. And I think that's the hard part, is trying different things. You know, people have lately been asking me a lot about paleo and keto, and there are things about each that can work for certain people, but as a whole, it shouldn't just be like, this is my programming, my diet.
I agree. I tried keto for like 4 months, like last year. And it was interesting because I actually started like calculating my macros and like doing all this stuff, and it taught me things. And it also taught me that it wasn't sustainable for me.
So that's why, I've had a few clients that ask me, can you cook macro versus micro of my diet, and asking me questions. I politely say I can't, because I love that my meal program is just eating health inspired instead of dictating a diet or making you feel like you're like schooled.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want like you have to eat
system.
this and this eats that and that, you know. Even when I share my menus, I share like 3 hot dishes, and I don't dictate you have to eat this on night 1, you have to eat this on night 2. Like it should be
whatever
like, oh, I open
for.
my fridge, I know what she put in there. I got my menu on Saturday. You know, food came on Monday. I have a handwritten menu so they can put it right on their fridge. And you know what's in there. You know what mood. Like, all right, I have a red meat in here from Hopefully Plated. That's what I want tonight. Tomorrow I'll eat the chicken. I've cooked for a lot of vegetarian families as well, which is fun for me to try new things. But it shouldn't be led by you have to. I was never a calorie counter. My sister and I have polar opposites on this. My sister has really enjoyed a lot of her programming and dieting as she grew up was calorie counting. But my sister and I are 10 years apart. So if you think about it, who was the it fitness girls in the 90s when she was finishing high school, seeing people in that fitness realm, was the calorie counters, was the South Beach diet, was, you know, those quick fixes. And for me, when I finished high school, let's say when I finished in 04, I was seeing a different dialogue of when really the fitness stars were becoming the fitness world. And then I was seeing, that was like, for me, 2000s were the launch of Food Network. I used to love Food Network and watching the balance there, but now I can't watch for the game shows and the this and the that. But for me, it was also watching the balance of people cooking things and the process of this oil versus that. So my sister and I have a totally different take on food.
That's
absolutely different take for 10 years apart.
That's interesting. And it is definitely generational. And I've even heard that like nutrition, the science, it almost takes like a decade for the science to start integrating into like what your doctor's telling you and like what the normal average Joe actually knows about nutrition and health. It's like we're learning so many things currently, and unless you're like staying up on that stuff and listening to podcasts and
it's so hard.
Interested in it, it is very hard.
My nutrition contacts here in the city have been a great source, just to follow them and ask questions and see like, why is this not making sense? And
because you hear a lot of conflicting information all
the time. There's like, oh, coconut oil is great, and then some weird article came out of like never eating coconut oil, and like you want to be like, okay, what am I doing? If in my rule of thumb is kind of like, if you're eating fresh whole foods and items that aren't overly processed, meaning if you look at the back of the package and let's say it's under about 6 or 7 ingredients and you know what those ingredients are, then you're probably doing something okay. And stay around people that inspire you. I am a part of like a huge like foodie community on Instagram, and we actually have meetups every 2 or 3 months of everyone cooks together and hangs out, and you get cool ideas. And a lot of them don't cook for a living. They love going out to the foodie restaurants, and I love cooking for a living. So it's a good mix and match of like, okay, I'm craving something. I want to go on Beeford Highway and try something new. I'll go to their Instagram and ask them, hey, what's something neat that I should go to? For the reverse, they'll ask me, hey, I'm making something. What oil do you use for this? Athena, one of my close friends as well here, Southern Healthy Living, she's awesome. And she and I do like food swaps. So we work with a lot of cool products. We try new things. And then 2 weeks ago, she brought over like 10 new products she had. I had some new products, and we just swapped. We put them in like Ziploc bags, wrote notes, said, try this, here's that, here's a powder, here's a cool new butter, here's and it was so fun because that's the way to try new things. So find people that you enjoy their ideas. So Athena's really good on, removing anything processed, trying to be health inspired. I think saying health inspired instead of being like, I'm organic, I'm all natural, was a great different tone lately.
I like that.
And that's how I tell my clients, everything's health inspired, because there's still honey in here. There's still some sugars. There's still, Yeah,
because like that article that you're talking about with the coconut oil, it's like, if you're eating spoonfuls of coconut oil, it's probably not the best thing ever. But if you're using it to cook, or you're using it for like that one article was just hilarious because it made
really
the rounds.
Hard. So for me, on the food and fitness side, I'm learning so much. But now I'm following a few other bloggers and friends about skin health. For me, I was raised off like my mom's way of doing it all and the moisturizer and everything, but now I'm like, ooh, what's in there? So now I think in the next 6 months I'll probably still start learning a little bit more,
making your own remedies
and I have a lot of friends, and that's the same way. You learn by asking questions, going to friends, going to things. I don't read as many articles of such. I mostly am following like, what are other routines that people feel good about that are also in the same healthy avenues I am?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you could read any article and it's going to contradict anything you've learned or something you've thought about. Or
well, the other thing I was going to mention earlier that you were talking about, like going vegan or vegetarian. One thing that I think happens a lot is people go vegetarian. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. And it's not even necessarily that they're removing meat from the equation. It's probably because they're intentionally just eating a ton more vegetables.
Yes,
and
the idea is things are switched. Yeah,
because they're like, now I'm vegetarian. Oh, that like it has veggie in the name, so they like associate it with like, now I eat vegetables, and like you start to enjoy it and stuff, which is great. But I think that a lot of times all that is just like, wait a second, are you eating the same? You just remove meat, or are you like completely changing? Because then you can't necessarily say like, oh, because I'm vegan, I feel this way. It's like, because you're eating a shit ton of really good foods and eating a lot of vegetables.
It's the same way when a lot of people say like, oh, I don't eat red meat. And I do right away. I'm like, where's all your iron coming from? You have to find, your food feeds your body. So yeah, if you're feeling better, it was probably because you needed more greens and needed more, whole vegetables that you weren't getting before.
Yeah.
But at the same way, like when people say I don't eat red meat, my first question is iron. Like I have to eat red meat, if not every day, every other day. But I know it for my body. I know the iron levels I need.
How do you know? What do you mean you know it?
So I grew up and I didn't love red meat. My mom didn't cook it that much. We had hamburgers or like a taco night, but we were very like chicken heavy family, salmon.
I feel like most families are very chicken heavy in America.
And mostly because my mom didn't know how to make red meat. So when I was out, I'd eat a burger or steak, but maybe my mom at the time my home cooking wasn't red meat. Over time, I had a lot of bruises. I bump into things, bruises.
Huh.
I got tested to make sure I wasn't anemic because I also crave like a lot of water. And so that's my childhood. I'm adulting. I had roommates in college that were vegetarian, so I mostly ate vegetarian a lot with them. And I still had a lot of bruises. And I actually had an ex-boyfriend in LA who ate red meat, if not every day, like 2 meals of the day. And we started cooking together. And by like week 4 or 5, whatever it was, I was like, and I didn't have the bruises and my energy level was great and it was a different take. And I talked to a lot of doctors and they were like, maybe your iron level just really needed that boost. And you can get it in other ways. Yes, broccoli and other starchy greens and taking a supplement.
A lot of people don't want to eat the broccoli though.
Right. And so I really learned that like my levels need it. And I can tell too, if I haven't had red meat that week for whatever reason, if I'm cooking at home, I can see like the bruises start to form.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
There's different things. There's different ways. It's the same way when people talk about digestion. If you're not eating things that help you go, your digestion's not going to be great.
For sure. And I think once you kind of find that like baseline of what your quote unquote like healthy diet is for yourself, you can really see when you go and eat something else, you realize like, oh wow, that's why, or whatever.
And just like you said, for yourself. I think it's so hard nowadays because there is not one universal something. And there's not supposed to be. It's the same way we all look different. We all have different hair colors, different eyes, different feels. We like this style. We wear that shirt. We forget that like food, fitness, everything should be that way as well. I love classes. I love going to bar and Pilates and yoga. I'm addicted to going to classes because it's fun. It's engaging. There's friends around. But I have friends that say, my workout is my time. My earbuds are in. I'm at the gym or I'm running. And You can't tell the other person why. It's the same way with diets. I don't need to like force them into that programming, and maybe they try it or come for you once in a while to that class, but it's the same way in food. It's really for you. And you can ask as many questions as you want and try new things, but if your body needs something or feels something, it's going to tell you.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is just like staying open-minded, because even to go back to like the classes thing and like how people want to work out, some people, it's kind of like the extrovert versus introvert thing. Like some people really refuel and regain their energy by their alone time, and some people really regain their fuel by like hanging out with people. And I totally understand that, because I'm on both sides, because I always, like for me, I'm always like, classes are for girls, like I don't want to go. But I like back in November started doing yoga a lot, and now I'm going to yoga like 2-3 times a week, and I love it. And not even just because like I don't have like a ton of friends in the class or anything. It's just like being in this space with a bunch of people doing all the same thing. It's like weirdly kind of like tribal, and you like release something in your brain when you're doing that.
It's also a part of like accountability. So being busy and us probably having weird schedules, accountability helps you focus on your health, on your wellness, on your food. If you can be accountable of, all right, I have to be at this class 10 to 11. You've signed up. You got to go. Like, yeah, some days you're like, oh, I'm sick. I can't go. Fine. But there's a sense of accountability and self-worth and self-awareness when you have to give to that brand or idea of going to that class or meeting the friend there, or... And
it builds it right into your schedule for you, because that's when the class is. Like you can't be late.
And that's going back to Instagram. On Sunday and Mondays, I make a post, and on my stories are the new great things. It's quick and fun and sharing. Every Sunday and Monday, I post my teaching schedule at Pink Bar. I'm there about 7 or 8 classes a week. It's a pretty big schedule, sometimes 10 a week.
Wow.
I'm normally at one location, but just so happens sometimes I'm at all 3. And I really want people to be excited to come to class, hang out. Here's a new idea. Please come see me. But the same next part of my story, I always point where I'm going that week. Do you want to try a new class? Do I have an accountability partner? What are my workouts? Because that makes me accountable to where my time needs to go to.
Totally.
And I think it's the same part of sharing your schedule and your family and your life, and like making sure you're just as health conscious. And it doesn't have to be social media, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's holding yourself to that same manner. It's like if you get antisocial all week and you make no plans with friends and you don't go out and you come home straight from work, you also lose that self-worth and self-awareness of like, maybe I should make one connection and go see a friend. Maybe I should go to the movies with someone, or there's a networking event.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling of finding balance in your day. And going back to the Atlanta community, that's really why we're all here. That's how we all meet. Holding ourselves accountable, putting yourself in a new situation and saying, hi, here's who I am, or hi, I have a question, or, how can I help someone?
For sure. And I think like that's why I love I only do podcasts in person. Like that's one of the things that, even though it would probably be easier to do them on like Skype or whatever like that, like part of the reason why I even started this thing was I was like, I want to actually talk with people in real life. Like not only just, having a conversation, putting out content, like actually maybe making a friend or like talking to someone really cool and forming a new relationship.
Well, and I think that's part of our world now is authenticity.
Totally.
Getting rid of the fake and keeping the real stuff real. And I think our generation, our style, our work ethic is what makes you authentic. What are you sharing with the world that makes you say, I am who I am? It could be anything. It's exciting. It's unique and it's engaging. And especially in a big city, it's not that you want to outshine everyone else. You want to outshine for yourself. Like, what is it that you're putting out there that makes other people excited for you?
Totally. Yeah, that's totally true. Because everyone wants to jump on board like a new project, a new thing. They all like, people want to, oh, how can I help you? Blah, blah, blah. Like as soon as you get the ball rolling with something, there's tons of people ready to like help you push the ball. And
people are so focused on like followers and this idea and this, I'm the coolest kid in the room. And like, no, it should really be about like sharing your self-worth. If I'm sharing something great and people want to enjoy that, I feel excited. If I was just sharing like a different cookie every day, like, yeah, that's exciting, but it's not who I am.
Yeah.
So it's really sharing my lifestyle of like what feels good for me, is that then I feel excited that people are enjoying it and watching it and asking questions and following my stories and it gives me that same accountability to share with them of what's genuine, what's authentic, good days, bad days. I ate this. I have a friend in Richmond, my hometown, who when I post a meal, she's like, I'm really glad you ate that. It makes me feel better knowing that you ate something that was a splurge for you. I do. I'm not like hiding it. Like if I'm craving something and I'm taking a picture, I'm eating it. Like, I want to share it too. That's authentic to who I am. But those are things that people forget, that like you are still real. And not everyone online is, but being in person and making a face and saying who you are is real. Exactly. That was the main thing with this, is like there's way too many fake podcasts that are very like chopped up and edited, and they chop out their ums and likes and awkward silences and whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather the show suffer and put it out there and just make it more real than make it this like, look how great we are thing. It's been like a great connection to find people who want to share in ideas. Yes. And I will say right now I'm at the 2-year mark, and it's been like every step is something different. Every step evolves, whether it's for my company or for, bar or working with other cool brands. And it's exciting each time. It's like a learning avenue because everything evolves. It's not supposed to stay the same. Definitely. And that's what I like about your brand, is that you said what did you say? It's like health inspired. Yeah. So it doesn't have to stick to this thing. Because I think too many people, they're like, I'm the keto guy. And like everyone else is wrong. And I'm the keto guy. Follow my thing. Or I'm the vegetarian guy, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's all about staying open-minded and doing what's right for you. Like I love seeing brands that are exciting to the next step. And for me, it was Hopefully Plated needed to evolve because it is just me. I do have the capability of saying, okay, that didn't work. That failed. Let's do something different. So like I told you, if anyone comes to me with an idea, I try right away to say yes. And I say, let me figure it out. And sometimes I can't. There are a few times where I'm like, this does not make sense for me as my company or my brand to share with you. Let me see who else I can help you with. But if I can give my time to the right things that I enjoy, why not? So this weekend, I actually cooked for Core Power Yoga Sandy Springs Friday night. They're having like a book club after one of the yoga events. And then fun. Saturday, you can catch my food at Core Power Ponce. They're having a little like double class. And then Kendra Scott, a great local brand as well in Buckhead, has invited me to share. It's National Nutrition Month. So on Saturday, I'll be there to share some light bites. And because I'm connected in the city, I've asked one of my personal trainer friends to auction off a training session. Because I work with Pink Bar, I asked the owner, hey, if I do an auction, can I auction off some classes? And then I work with a ton of other brands that have given me cool products. And I said, I'm going to make a goodie bag. I'll auction that off of stuff. And that to me is more exciting. The woman, Sarah, who works with Kendra Scott, was like, oh my gosh, you're like an influencer's dream. Thank you for coming in and having all these other ideas. If I'm going to come in, I'm not just going to like show my face and wave my hand and here's some hummus. Like, I really want to I make a lot of hummus. That's the joke. I have about 12 different brands of hummus that I make, or styles. So that's the funny joke of that. But I really just want it to be genuine. I don't want to just come in and be like, here's some jewelry. How do I share? And so when I talk to her, I'm cooking, I'm auctioning those things off. I've invited oodles of friends and their moms, because their moms are the best. I literally had an email. I was like, oh, my best friend Michelle, and then her mom Michelle, all the moms. And then on top of it, I love working with Atlanta Community Food Bank. So if you've never gotten involved with them, so any charity I work with or any charitable idea I can do. So they're doing a 10% back to Atlanta Community Food Bank that same day. That's awesome. And I've done that for almost any event I can do in the city is with Atlanta Community Food Bank. They just have great systems and they give to other programs. So they're one of my favorites. So it's the same way. If I'm coming in, I want to bring everyone together. I want every idea possible. I want more people to be there because it's just me. If I'm just coming in, yeah, it's great. Some friends will come. But if it's everyone else involved, more faces, more ideas, more networking. If one friend can meet another friend, that's even better. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I think a lot of people, being able to get people in a room, being able to invite people to a space and get actual people and bodies in the thing is a really powerful skill to have. Right now I have chills. It's exciting. And every time in Atlanta I've had more and more events where I'm like, oh my gosh, people really are interested in this, or it's exciting, or I'm helping with that. And it gives you such a good, warm-hearted feeling that if you're putting your strong effort into something, it's well received. Totally. And I think that's what's most exciting for me as an entrepreneur is like who's receiving it, who's excited for it, who's capturing my ideas, who's asking questions, who's like, hey, can I be on a podcast? I'm like, yeah, I have things to say, sure.
I feel like you have a lot of things to say.
Too many. But.
No, that's really awesome because I think a lot of people, they have like imposter syndrome where they feel like, well, I'm not an expert on nutrition, so like I can't go on that podcast because people are just going to see that I'm a faker and like I just learn everything on the internet or whatever. Or like, well, yeah, I kind of do this thing, but I don't know. I don't know if people like it or whatever.
It's true. It's just be real. So like for me, I don't recipe create for myself right now. I find great recipes, I organize them, I'll ad lib if I need to, and then I present them to my clients. I never like say that's my recipe on a site, or if people ask, can I get that recipe? I'll absolutely send them whatever I use and say, here's where I ad libbed.
That's awesome.
Those are things that like make me feel genuine into the food and wellness community. I don't know it all. I really don't. I exactly tell people I don't know it all. I don't have all the questions answered. But as I'm learning and asking questions and studying for my nutrition certificate, I'll still be gaining knowledge forever. Yeah. It should never just be a stop.
Well, I think the weird thing is like when people, they're like, this guy's an expert and he knows everything there is to know. I think that that's pretty silly because I think if someone tells you that they know everything, they're probably like the person you don't want to listen to.
Well, isn't the quote, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room? Like, yeah. I always want to be intrigued. I always want to know who that person is or know something more. It's exciting of the moment of gaining knowledge. It's like, oh, that's something else inviting. And maybe it's something you contradict on, like you don't have the same knowledge on it. It's an idea of debate and understanding that's exciting in the entrepreneurial avenue in any business.
For sure. And I mean, like even doctors, literally, they call it a practice. Like they're literally practicing medicine. Like they don't know everything. We're still learning stuff. Like it's not. That's what's sometimes so challenging about going to a doctor is they don't know what's wrong with you or whatever. And it's like, how do you not know you're a doctor? But it's like, no one has all the answers. No. So. Very cool. Well, I think this is a really awesome podcast. I feel like it's a good place to wrap things up. Yes. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to like mention or anything? Well, and obviously shout your stuff out, how people can find you and all that. So you can find me. My personal page is Mallory Hope, Hope and an S. So it's Mallory Hope S. All on Instagram. I do hashtag hopefully plated, one word, and that's part of my business routine. You can find me at Pink Bar, Virginia Highlands, on the corner of Virginia and Highland. And then you can find me taking classes at Solid Core in Midtown. I'm an influencer over there and hang out probably once or twice a week with their staff. And then Core Power Yoga, always cooking, hanging out with them. Where else can you find me? I am involved with a lot of everything here in the city. I help out with the Jewish Federation, so a part of my giving back as well is a few different events and food events with the Jewish Federation. You can always message me on Instagram. I pretty much answer everyone. That's awesome.
I'm getting excited for a few other cool Atlanta ideas. So if you're curious what's up next, please keep following me along. I'm working with a few other brands here in the city just for a few cool food pop-ups and some fitness things.
Very cool.
So if you're curious, just follow along. I will story everything.
If you're food or fitness curious, follow Mallory.
Yes. If you're just curious.
Yeah.
Anything, yeah. I guess. I'm happy to like talk it out and laugh it out with anybody.
Very cool. Very awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show.
So welcome.
We'll see you later, everybody. Boom. There you have it, folks. Thanks again to Mallory. Make sure that you go follow her on every social media platform known to man. She's killing the IG game, though, in particular, so definitely go check out her stories for all kinds of tips and tricks and just following her adventures. Thanks again to Brooke Watson of Keller Williams Chattahoochee North for supporting the show. If you have any real estate needs, please go to her website, brookewatson.house. And if you like the little convo at the beginning, or maybe you'd rather us do something else, please let us know. We're very open to suggestions. And send us your questions so that we can answer them on an upcoming episode. All right, you made it here to the end. You're the hardcore homies right here. You listened all the way through. That is pretty exciting. Very exciting, actually. Maybe it's your first time here. I don't know. But if you're looking for more episodes to listen to, I have a couple of recs for you that they kind of have the same flavor as this episode. So if you enjoyed this episode, you'd probably really enjoy listening to episode 69 with Noelle Jackson who I just saw on Tuesday at Turntable Yoga, hosted by Actively. Very fun event. Noelle is an entrepreneur. She's a creator. She's a professional dancer, too. And her company, LPR, works with some of the best lifestyle and hospitality brands around the country. And recently, she's gotten back into professional dancing. She landed a role in the upcoming movie Night School with Kevin Hart. Pretty exciting. But on this episode, we talked about her upbringing, how she started her company, how it's evolved, and some of her mistakes that she sees brands making, some of the biggest marketing mistakes, I should say, and how she got back into dancing. That was a really fun episode. So go check out episode 69 with Noelle Jackson. Also, another episode that I think you would really enjoy is episode 81 with my friend Stephanie Jewett. And Stephanie is the founder and CEO of Actively mobile app, which was the host of Turntable Yoga that I just mentioned. But Actively is basically, it's like Tinder for platonic fitness buddies. And after losing her job at CNN, Stephanie decided to go full force with Actively, and she hasn't looked back since. And in this episode, we talked about her journey, her ups and downs, what it's like being a woman in tech in Atlanta, and what she's learned along the way. And that was a pretty recent episode, so if you haven't checked it out yet, why are you sleeping so hard? Jeez, just go listen to it already. Gosh. Episode 84 is coming up next. It's coming up soon with two veterans of the podcast. No strangers. Two of the most amazing people I know, Alex Guthrie and Connor Peterson. And this was my first episode with two guests. It was amazing. Can't wait to do more of these. But Connor is a daredevil. He's a nationally ranked obstacle course racer. He's an avid skydiver. And Alex is probably the most famous musician I know. Last year, he starred in the American Family Insurance ad campaign with Jennifer Hudson. If you haven't seen it, you're probably living under a rock. And a few months ago, he opened for Kelly Clarkson. So he's absolutely killing the game. And Connor, basically, one of the most recent things that's happened to him, he fell 55 feet from a rock climbing wall, which is pretty exciting. He didn't die. So we talked about that. We've got some exciting stuff about Alex, some exciting stuff in the pipeline. Pretty crazy stuff. If you want to hear more about those dudes, you can go back to episodes 13, 22, and 61 to hear the other episodes we've recorded. But that episode is coming up very, very soon. So stay tuned. I don't even know what stay tuned means. Like in the radio world, it's like, don't move that dial. But like, stay tuned. Keep pressing the update button on your podcast app until the episode is released. I don't know. Just follow me on Instagram and you'll know. And maybe join my email list and you'll know when all the episodes are released. Anyways, if you're still listening at this point, you are even more of a hardcore homie. Maybe you're a hella hardcore homie. So if you haven't already and you want to support the show, please go rate the podcast on iTunes and maybe a review. Maybe leave me a review on there. Maybe say something about being a true hardcore homie, a hella hardcore homie, so I know who the realest homies are. And also share this podcast with a friend who you think might enjoy this conversation. Maybe they like health and fitness and nutrition and all that stuff. Just hit them up. Let them know. Anyways, if you want to follow me, go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. You can find all the links to my social media handles and accounts. And you can sign up for my email list where I will personally send you an email every time that the podcast is live. Any new one. Push that little button. It's like, yo, what up? Podcast is live. Go check it out. But yeah, if you're a hella hardcore homie, I love you guys. Thanks for listening. And I will see you guys next week for episode 84.
Don't refill this bowl. Like, just let me have this. This is my moment. I'm a sucker. I lose it.